I was getting this political education. So I learned in California from the 60s, I learned that everybody had politics in their songs, in their set, in their repertoire. So I write everything. Okay, I write songs about shoes. I write songs about cell phones. I write songs about falling in love, about falling out of love. I write songs about cowboys. I write songs about Trump. I write songs about ICE. I write songs about, and you should, everything. Don't just write about one thing. And then in Seattle, I learned the broader and more detailed bits of the political situation. That's where I found out why we were in Vietnam. Okay, because I got to sing for and then hang with anti-war activists, draft resistor people. And, I got to learn all that stuff. So that's how it came to be. And it became very rewarding to me to actually not have somebody just applaud because they like my guitar playing, but because I said something. I made a song that was valuable to somebody. So that's how it came to me, and I'm still doing it in the way that I do it because I don't hold myself back to only writing political music, and I realize the value of it, and I'm enormously fulfilled by the knowing that I do something that has a value. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. One of the things that's different for me about your music compared to a lot of the classic 60s folk guys like the early Dylan and Phil Oakes and stuff is that it seemed that, and even to this day, that many folk musicians have something on their mind and they want to tell you about it. But you somehow put relationships into your songs when your experience of riding the bus. Okay, you're talking about the driver in there, and different people you see. You've got so many observation ones where you're not really just saying this is important to me. I want to tell you about it so that I educate you. What's that all about?
Okay. That comes out. That's because of the conversation that you have when you're playing on the street or on the campus or whatever. You're having a conversation with the audience. You have to love the audience. You have to love people. Mm-hmm. You can't do this if you don't. You're lying to you and everybody else. You have to love them, and you can't love them if you don't get to know them, and you can't get to know them if you don't have a conversation. When you ride the bus and you're sitting next to a stranger, you don't have to, but you could have a conversation with them. And when you have a conversation, you're talking about baseball and the weather and any old thing, and there's a warmth, an exchange of warmth because and that finds its way into the songs and into the performance because there's a circular thing happening between you and the people. And the phrase "the people" gains more reality when you're out there doing that because that is the people. Also, I decided that I wanted to write songs that came from the struggles that we live. I didn't want to write songs that are basically handbills, rhymed handbills. Mm-hmm. Those turn me off. Okay, I'm not interested in them. There's nothing in them that interests me. I want to hear a song that comes out of the struggle that we are in. I want to hear the song from, and I wasn't there. I want to hear the song from Minnesota. The song from Minneapolis that talks about, getting up in the morning and getting dressed to go out there and being, having your camera with you all charged up and your whatever else, not knowing what you're going to find, or going out there and having been arrested and dealing the story song. I want the story song. Because those are the songs that last, like Woody Guthrie. 1913 Massacre is a brilliant piece of work. Now, it was written about something that happened before I think he was even born. Maybe not, but he wasn't there, certainly. It was Michigan, Calumet, Michigan. Miners were having a Christmas party. There were a whole bunch of miners up there, their families, their kids, a whole bunch of them, 100 of them up there. And a bunch of company gun thugs showed up. And they played a joke by claiming that there was a fire and creating a panic. And what is it? I think 73 children were killed. And the last line in the song is, "See what your greed for money has done." Until then, you do not know that this is a song that makes any kind of a statement. It's a story about these kids and the miners wives and the dancing and the music and the hall. And then the gun thugs show up and they do that thing. And then the kids get killed. But until the end, when he says, see what your greed is for money has done, there's no statement. And that's brilliant. And that song has lasted down the generations. And it's still there and it's still held in high esteem because it's a real song. Pretty Boy Floyd. I don't know what the reality of that guy in particular is, but it's a song about, a bandit that is misjudged by the bankers and everybody in society that wants to keep things going as they are. And he's outside the system and he is, he will actually spread that money around, as is true among certain bandits. There's a woman in India who was known as the bandit queen who did that. She went out in the ravine and had her own gang, and they robbed rich people and they spread that money around. It's not unusual. It is not, oh, my friend in Ireland just sent me something. Cool. It's my phone. My phone is talking to me. Anyway, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write that kind of song. Okay. And in among doing that, you will write something which is more like a fist in your face. You just will. And Woody did and other people did. But you have to understand what I wasn't there, but Phil Oakes and Bob Dylan were in the same scene. And I don't know what that scene was. I don't know what that scene was like. I wasn't there. But a scene kind of creates a through line. It's unfair to say a sameness, but it creates a through line of approach. And I wasn't part of the scene. My scene was me with my guitar wherever I was, and then the audience learning how to do that, that circular thing. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, the other thing about telling stories is that even if a person disagrees with you on your politics, if you tell them a story where you show that you see them, that you tell their story, there's a bonding that happens where maybe you can have more debate-like discussions about what is and is not going on in the world that you couldn't have because most people come across as saying, you don't know this yet, and I need to tell you about it.
Right. No, exactly. I know more than you do. Sit down and shut up, which they bring up all the time. And people say, oh, they're just crazy, or they're just, they need to hear more of us is what they need to do.
Yeah.
I think that also, and everybody is probably, and I'm not very good at that. I get all full of myself and I get out a rant about an argument. I'm not going to listen to people. Everybody does that. And but I learned that again from singing on the street, because you're going to, especially if you do what I did, which was I sang in every place I could get into in Seattle. I went intentionally into obviously inhospitable territory, obviously. Cocktail bars and stuff that I'm going to sing. And then I had to decide, and I did it on purpose for a number of reasons. One was to know what my songs were, which ones of my songs how they work on other people, which ones I could do in other people, because a song can save your life if you sing the right one at the right time, and it can mess with you if you sing the wrong one at the wrong time. So I learned from that how to introduce an argumentative song, or a song that a problematic song, how to introduce it correctly and sing it correctly so that it will be palatable to some. I mean, there's actually a way of singing a song, to make it easier to accept by somebody that doesn't agree with the ideas of it. There's a way of doing that. And you can figure those things out by experience, by trying it,
You're coming up from South California. You're coming in from old Boston town. You're looking at the beautiful trees and the water, thinking about settling down. You've been hearing stories about all the money, dreaming about a house on the hill, thinking that you might get lucky. Maybe there's room for you still. So you're driving up with everything you've got in the world, or you're flying in on a plane, taking a bus into downtown Seattle, and that's the last that you saw of your dream. Because yes, they've got beauty and glamour, and yes, there's money to burn, but there's also those people living under the freeway, and that's where your road takes a turn. Cause Seattle is a garden of Eden, a paradise to live in or see. But believe it or not, you'll be living in a parking lot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. Now maybe you came by yourself, maybe you brought family too, maybe you got some skills you can use, maybe you don't have to make do. You've been looking for work online at the library, figure that you'll make it somehow, but you ran out of money for that room on Aurora, and you're wondering where to go now. Well, you could live in your car if you had one. There are plenty of people who do, but they towed it away to the impound. Now you're wearing a hole in your shoe. You see rock and roll heroes and sports stars, millionaires out on the town, and those people living under the overpass, the cops just keep moving them around. Seattle is a garden of Eden, a paradise, that's what they say. But believe it or not, you'll be living in a parking lot if you can't make it pay. Now the mayor is liberal and the county is mixed, and there's a socialist riding on board, and they raised up the minimum to $15 an hour. That's the least that the boss can afford. But still you're sleeping on a cardboard mattress, and your house on the hill is a tent, and they could freeze all the prices right now, but you still couldn't pay for the rent. Now some say there's nothing you can do about it. It's just human nature, they claim. This is the greatest system in the world. It just needs a little lube on the chain. Well, me, I've got a better idea. I say let's shut it all down. Let's defang the bankers and sink all the tankers and spread all the money around. 'Cause Seattle is a garden of Eden. It's a paradise at the end of its line. So let's put it out with the curbside recycling and try to do better next time. Has a nice little sting at the end of it, you know? Yeah. Plant them for the people who have had to leave the village. Plant them for the roads that are too wide. Plant them for the feelings that you can't go home again. Plant them for the people who have had to stay behind. Plant them for the childhoods filled with grief. Oh, and plant them for the feelings that you can't leave. escape with their lives. Plant them for the birds that they can rest after they fly. Oh, and plant them for the sun to grow dancing shadows. Plant them for the river to take the shade. Plant them for the word to rest its feet. Oh, and plant them so that we may hear mountain songs in the southern breeze. Plant them for the river to take the shade. Plant them so the rain can rest its feet. Oh, and plant them so that we may hear mountain songs in the southern breeze. Planting trees.